Hello everyone, and welcome to our session, Seeing Inside Your Service. My name is Amir Hermelin, and I'm a product manager for Google, and with me is Asaf Zemak, an engineering manager for Google. And we're here to talk about the exciting things we're doing and planning for monitoring and logging. Before I start, I'd like to thank you all for attending, for coming to our conference, showing your support, being loyal cloud users, Google Cloud users, so we really rely on your support and feedback, so thank you. Before we start, a show of hands. How many of you actively monitor your services? Please raise your hands. Okay, great, you're in the right place. Keep them up, keep them up. How many of you like it when you're firefighting and you're sifting through the information, trying to drill down and find the relevant information? Okay, that's good, that's good. And how many of you love it when you're woken up at 3 a.m. to do that? Okay, you too, you are our lucky winners. Now the rest of you, oh, where's my clicker? Here's what we're going to be talking about. So, quick look at the agenda. We'll start with what we've learned over the years and our plans and vision for logging and monitoring. Then we'll talk a little about our new logs viewer. You may have seen it at this morning's keynote, and our logs ingestion pipeline. We'll then go over our new time series API, which is the first of many upcoming APIs in this area. And we'll conclude with a quick demo, kind of putting it all together. So, monitoring at Google. As you're probably aware, at Google we run many services, and we've been doing so over the years. Small services, large services, from really experimental alpha type services run by 2-3 person teams, all the way up to Google Search and tens of thousands of queries per second services that are managed by distributed teams all over the globe. And internally, we've built very capable and sophisticated monitoring systems for keeping these services up. And over the years, we've learned many lessons. Some were harder to learn than others. But we think most of the things we've learned apply equally to large and small services, no matter what you're running. So some of the things that we've learned over the years. First of all, what you want to do with your service is you want to catch problems early, before these problems are visible to your users. Because when your service is down or when your users have a hard time accessing your service, that means downtime. You might lose revenue, you might lose mindshare, you might lose users, and it might be all over Twitter land. So you don't want to get to that point. You want to catch problems early. You want to be kind of extra careful. And so you go on, you add alerts, you add dashboards, you have logs, and all sorts of indicators to make you aware of problems before they occur. But that introduces another thing. That introduces noise. That introduces a lot of information, that really desensitizes you from the real issues that occur, the real things that you should focus on. And so what we've learned is that you should focus on and alert only on symptoms. So focus on how will things affect your users. Will these things affect your users? Is this a real problem? When will my users kind of start sensing it? And if you're firefighting, where should I start? I should start with the things that matter to my users, that are visible to my users. So that's what we've learned over the years. But of course, what we've learned and what we've done is not enough. We went out and asked you and other cloud users what they would like to get from their monitoring systems. And so here's what we're hearing from you. Lots of you are telling us that you've had alerts, but you had too many of them. They were noisy, and you ended up ignoring them, maybe partially, maybe in full. How many of you can relate to that? Okay, good. Well, it's not good, but yeah, I see Uh, some people in the audience who know what I'm talking about. Maybe a relevant thing, maybe you've heard or you remember in the past few months some credit card fraud occurrences that happened at large online retailers. Now, in most, probably in all these cases, from what I understand, the problem was not that they didn't have indicators. They actually had many logs. They had many alerts. They had many indicators. They might have had too many, that they've ignored some of them, that they had a hard time sifting through the rest of them. And by the time they found out about the problem, lots of credit card information was stolen. It became public, a huge problem. And these things sometimes take years to mend. So that's being too noisy. Now, too many of you have told us that our existing log viewer for App Engine is just not enough to find the relevant logs. You have many logs. You have a lot of logs volume, and you'd like something better to help you sift through them and get to the relevant information. How many of you, think that? Okay, good. Okay, you're in the right place then. I am too. So most of you are telling us that you need a better monitoring solution. You need better monitoring and alerts for things that are running in production. But you just don't have the time to spend on it. You want to ship new features, and you don't have the time to become experts at monitoring. And it's not just learning the system, but learning how to monitor. And then absolutely no one, except these two gentlemen over there, tell us that they love to be woken up at 3 a.m. Definitely if it's for the wrong reasons, right? Sometimes there are the right reasons, but if it's something that is not urgent or could have been handled automatically, nobody likes that. And unless you're a parent to a toddler, you don't really need to wake up at those times. So what you're telling us that our monitoring solution needs to be, it needs to be actionable. So everything results in an action. So alerts or dashboards or things that remove the noise and help you focus on the right things. It needs to be scalable. So even small teams can manage huge services. It needs to be easy to use. So a great out-of-the-box experience and easy to iterate upon until you get to the right setup, the right dashboards, alerts, and logs that you're surfacing. And it needs to be smart. So if it does wake you up at 3 a.m., you need to get out of bed and in your pajamas either grab your laptop or get to work and fix something. So where are we going with all this? So we took what we've learned and our existing systems and what you've been telling us, and here's what we want to do with our monitoring systems: dashboards, alerts, and logs. We want to surface only the relevant information, right? So you can understand better what's happening and how is it affecting your users. We want to minimize false positives, so you can react faster and not ignore real issues before they occur or during firefighting. And we want to help you automatically detect issues and find relevant events and relevant information that helps you running your services in production, so that even small teams can scale up and monitor and manage huge services. So we want to help you be insightful and react fast. And I want to remind you something that Bobby said this morning, the CTO of Snapchat. He mentioned that they have a relatively small team running a huge service, right? They have tens of millions of, or probably hundreds, millions of users and many queries per second. And he said that most of the time they spend is on rolling out and iterating on new features, and very little time on managing the platform. And that's what we want to help you do. We want to help you scale monitoring so that we manage your monitoring for you, and you can focus on getting features out the door. Okay? And with that, I'll hand it over to Asaf.
Thank you. Okay. Come on. Okay, so the first thing I want to introduce today is our new logs viewer and pipeline. So here we show the new schematic of the new logs pipeline that we're introducing today. This pipeline is today hooked up to App Engine, and we will be hooking it up to our other services over the coming weeks. And what the nice thing about this pipeline is, it's a transport mechanism for logs going from one Google service to a number of Google endpoints. The first of these endpoints is the new logs viewer. I mean, you've seen it demoed today in Brad's keynote address. And additional endpoints that we're introducing today are Google Cloud Storage. So if, for example, you have your App Engine logs and you want to do some kind of batch processing on top of them, you want to run maybe Hadoop on top of them, then you can opt into this option of having your logs show up in Google Cloud Storage. And what we will do is we'll take these logs, we'll buffer them, and we'll produce hourly files inside Google Cloud Storage, and those are good for batch processing. An additional option for you is to opt into BigQuery. So for example, you could have your logs, your request logs as they're coming out of App Engine, flow through the logs in the new logs pipeline into BigQuery through the new streaming API that was announced today, and have those available for doing SQL queries on top of them for kind of business intelligence applications. So that's the new logs pipeline. And the logs viewer is available today. The cloud storage and BigQuery options are available in Trusted Tester, and Amir will give information at the end of this presentation how to contact us and get to be part of that Trusted Tester. So this is the new logs viewer. This is just a screenshot. I will not be doing a demo of it since Brad has already gone over all the features. I do want to just go over some of the improvements we're introducing. So the first of these is infinite scroll. It makes it a lot easier for you to move around in a log, to find the log you're interested in, to scroll up, to scroll down. It works really well with the mouse wheel, for example. And there's no more of the page backwards, page forwards. We think it's going to be a lot more convenient. The second thing is this automatic searches. So this is probably the #1 feature request we've had from the old logs viewer. I don't know if anybody has ever run into this when you do a search and nothing comes out and you have to kind of page forward to find it. So raise your hand if you've ever kind of encountered this behavior. Yeah, I kind of thought so. So this problem is now fixed. The new logs viewer doesn't exhibit this behavior. So I think that'll make a lot of people happier. If we're already talking about searches, we've introduced an improvement in searches, so now you can do a search both on labels and regular expressions from the same search box. So that's a lot more convenient. And we have suggest as you type, so if you're trying to find, for example, something where the result code is 500 and also contains the word success, as you start typing result code, we'll help you kind of fill in that label. So it makes the logs viewer a lot easier to use. So switching over from talking over the logs viewer, I want to introduce one of our new APIs. So the first of the monitoring APIs that we're making available, and there'll be many more coming. So what is the monitoring API that we're introducing today? So we have a monitoring system built inside Google that what it does is it periodically samples important system counters. So right now it's connected to App Engine and Compute Engine, and we collect, as these systems are running, as they're running your applications, our monitoring system samples various counters, for example, how many requests you made, what the latency of the request was, how much CPU you're using, and we're collecting all those, we're passing those through a pipeline of monitoring data, and we're storing it in a storage in a monitoring store. And now, today we're introducing an API which allows you to access that monitoring information and get metrics, a time series of data. So for example, the history of all the result codes you have in your App Engine application, or the history of your CPU utilization in GC over time. And what you might do with that is, so one places where this time series information is used is you've seen all the nice graphs in the Cloud Console. Well, those are based off of that time series information, and that's like one common usage for that. So this is the list of the metrics we're making available today. You see we have a list of App Engine metrics, we have a list of Compute Engine metrics, and we can go into them in more detail, and we'll be introducing much more later. So what does a request look like? I'll go into this in some detail. So it's a standard REST request. The first part of it is the URL. Google API's Cloud Monitoring is where this URL, where this API lives. Then comes the version number. So this is version v2 beta 1. So it's still a fairly early version of this API. Then you tell us which project you're interested in. Then you tell us what you want to get. In this case, you're trying to get a time series. Then you're telling us which service you want to get the time series for. In this case, it's compute. There's an analogous service for App Engine. And similarly, there's instance information. You're telling us which metric you want to get. In this case, you're telling us you want the usage time. And the response you get for this is essentially it's a JSON object, tells you what information you're getting. There's some metadata. So, for example, it tells you what your project information, the metric name, some label information, then followed by a series of points, essentially a start and end time and a value. And so it's a very classic time series information, very simple to use. And with that, I will want to go to a demo. So what are we going to see? So earlier in the presentation that Brad did here, he showed the CloudMeme backend. So we had an application where someone was running, was using an Android application to talk to something running on the front end in App Engine, and that was talking to a back end running in Compute Engine, and that there was a MongoDB element in there. So all these things were running, and as they were running, we were in the background collecting metrics for them and putting them in the Google Cloud Metrics store. And now we'll see how we can access that. So can we switch to the demo? Oh, excellent. OK, so first, I will go to my directory to see I'm in the right place. And now I'm going to log in using OAuth. So the monitoring data that we have is protected. It's only your monitoring data. So it's not available through using standard curl commands. They have to be OAuth enabled curl commands. So we can protect. So your monitoring data can only be accessed by you and not by anybody else. So here we use the OAuth curl command that's available off of code.google.com. I log in. He asks me to allow access to it. I allow the access. And now it gives me an OAuth token. The OAuth token is stored on my machine. It's good for about an hour. And now I can issue OAuth curl commands to get my monitoring data. So this is the Java OAuth curl command. As you can see, it's a fetch command. So we're doing the OAuth fetch. And we're getting the Google APIs, as I showed earlier. MemeDroid backend is the name of the project on the computer, in Google Cloud console. And then we get the exact instance. And there it is. It's all working. You can see it tells us where we got the kind of information, some metadata, and again, points all the way down. Just time series information exactly as you would expect.
Thank you, Asaf. Let's give a hand for Asaf. His team. Thank you. His team has been working hard to get you these features and the upcoming features. Some of the things that we're working on is extending the APIs, bringing you dashboards and alerts, and working on other logs functionality to make the monitoring and logging experience much better, easily managed, and kind of take your time off of that, and so you can focus on shipping features. So a little bit about, again, what we've covered today, right? We spoke about our vision, the things what we've learned. We want to bring our systems, our power, our scale, our monitoring systems to you, but in a simple and intuitive way, so you can get started quickly. We showed you our new logs viewer and our logs ingestion pipeline, which is, by the way, in Trusted Tester, and I'll tell you how you can take part in that in a little bit. And we went through our time series API, which is, again, is the first of upcoming APIs to give you programmatic access to your data to help you build on top of what we're offering. So you can extend what we're offering and do other things that we might not have available today. And we took you through a demo, and I'll remind you that what didn't work is plot, which is not our stuff, but the rest of it is, I assure you, is working well, and it is in Trusted Tester, our monitoring API. So we thank you, and one important thing is we really, really appreciate your comments, suggestions, and feedback. If you have something you want to tell us, or if you want to be part of our Trusted Tester, these are kind of several Trusted Tester programs. The email is here. I don't know if you can see it. It's monitoring and logs feedback at google.com with dashes. So monitoring and logs feedback at google.com with dashes. And also, we'll be here after we're done to answer any questions. Do we have time for a little Q&A? Yeah, okay. So any questions? And please speak up.
No, we have a microphone.
Oh, okay, we have a mic. Awesome.
Was one of the items that you were able to monitor the rights to the data store?
Sorry?
Were you able to monitor the rights to the data store?
Yes. So we have, along the list of metrics that we showed available, there is rights from GCE, rights to disk, and there's rights to networking. So there's both networking and disk access metrics for GCE, for the compute engine. For the app engine, I think it's mostly around so we have resource, we have, can you bring up the list of slides? Can we go back to the list? Let's just, instead of me trying to remember it by heart, we can just bring it up. We can just bring it up.
By the way, we're adding to this
yes.
list.
So we have responses, we have quota denials, usage, page speed received and sent bytes over the network. So that's what we have available today. So that's the list of stuff we have available now. And part of the reason why we're doing trusted testers is exactly to get feedback to say, well, it really would be useful for me to get data store bytes so we can add that stuff.
Any other questions? Yes.
So you showed the metrics from App Engine and Compute Engine going into your metric store. Will you be able to send external metrics to the metric store from an external source?
So by external source, do you mean your own apps, or do you mean
outside of Google?
Yes. So we will have a metric ingestion API for your user-defined metrics. That is futures. I don't want to talk about it too much, but it will integrate with the rest of the system to be kind of a first-class citizen. So all the wonderful things that we're working on for our metrics will also be available for your metrics. Yes? So the question was, do we have any similar plans around Google Cloud Storage? And the answer is yes. And there was a thumbs up. Next question. Okay, I think we're also kind of running out of time. And one last question. Okay.
Sorry, can you show again the email address, because I was trying.
Yes, of course. Monitoring and logs feedback at google.com with dashes. Or amirh@google.com if you can't remember that. What's that?
He gets an error when he sends an email to that.
Oh, okay. Give us. Oh, it works? Okay. Enough things not working for this session, right? All right. Thank you, everybody. And please let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you. Thank you.